Hello and welcome to the Josh Astrop Podcast, episode number 114. Thanks for downloading this podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe so that every time I upload a new episode, it automatically downloads to your device. If you want to follow the podcast, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for the Josh Astrop Podcast. We're also on iTunes, Stitcher, Acast, and many other good podcast platforms. So, yeah, we're available everywhere. Also, the video version of every episode from 112 is available on YouTube, so that'll get uploaded the following day after the podcast release. So head over to YouTube, just look for the Josh Astrop Podcast on there as well. Subscribe, and then every time that's available, you'll be notified. Now, this week, I had a couple of guests for a new project that's coming up. I've interviewed or I had a chat with one of the people before episode, I can't remember, a few weeks ago. But they're working on a new project that is really exciting. It's fairly local to Northampton and related to Northampton. However, it's really cool stuff that's happening. So if you're not from Northampton, it's still interesting, still applies to you, still available to you. But the focus or the spotlight is on Northampton. It's Laura and Paige from the Happy You project. Now, Laura's been on the podcast before talking about primarily her blog, It's Character Building. But Paige also has a business outside the Happy You project. I'll put all the links to all of their businesses in the podcast show notes, but they're specifically here to talk about the Happy Hood zine, which is a magazine that will be released periodically about positive and interesting, cool things that are happening in Northampton. And you will see in the first episode that there are lots of things. Now, obviously, the first edition isn't going to include everything. There's more than you can fit in one edition. So, as I've said before, you may be tired of hearing about it all the time, but there is so many interesting things happening and so many interesting businesses that are going on, that are opening, that are running events and various things. It's so good that this zine is happening because it's sharing that about. I know about these businesses and these events because I'm sort of involved in it, and you know, there is a community as such around Northampton independent business owners and entrepreneurs, or whatever you want to call them. But we speak to each other, so we know about what's going on. And I'm walking through town centre twice a day, so I get to see these new shops that are opening, and I stop in on these people that are running businesses. So, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people in Northampton and around Northampton don't ever go into town centre. Now, some of those people are the people that say Northampton is shit and there's nothing going on. Now, that is what I like to call an uneducated opinion. So have a walk through town. It's not just pound shops and empty shops like people like to say. That is not true. However, save yourself the exercise and get the magazine and find out what's going on. I have no doubt that everyone that reads the magazine will be more interested than they already are, and then get more involved, which is beneficial for everybody. So I'm really excited about Paige and Laura doing this project, and I was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to write a little something. It's only a very, very brief couple of paragraphs, but I really enjoyed that process. And it's nice to be involved in something that I think is both fun and will have a positive impact on something. So click on the links in the podcast. Now, this podcast is going out a day or two before the launch event for the first edition of the zine. So if you are available, or if you are not available, make yourself available, because on the 19th of April, we're in April, aren't we? 19th of April from 7:30 p.m. at the Artist Table in Northampton Town Centre, the launch event is happening. Go down, get a copy of the first zine. Now, there is a very limited run for the first zine. I will not be surprised if it runs out. Maybe they'll do reissues, but in my experience, reissues of magazines and stuff are always more expensive. So you'll do well to get down there and get a copy while you can. From 7:30, 19th of April, the Artist Table in Northampton. It's going to be a fun night. I will see you there. I hope you enjoy that. But anyway, let's get on with the podcast. This is the Josh Astrop Podcast, episode number 114, with Paige and Laura from the Happy You Project. We can start now. Second time lucky.
Yes.
But that's the nature of technology.
Well,
particularly when Mercury is in retrograde.
Exactly.
Mercury is in retrograde. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And this time I get to sit on a sofa.
I know, we were standing last time.
Yeah, so...
I'm interested to see the difference, if there is any, between standing up for a while and sitting down. Well, I think people are more comfortable, which is obvious, but I think physically comfortable, but also mentally.
Yeah.
If you're standing, I think you're a bit more alert, maybe.
Yeah.
If you're sitting down, it's like, oh, we're just having a chat.
Just letting loose.
Yeah.
It's like we're in your lounge.
Yeah.
Having a chat.
Yeah. And this is an exact replica of my lounge. It is. It's expensive to do it that way, but...
Yeah. I mean, you don't really want all this equipment in your house, though, do you?
No.
All the time.
Much like Alan Partridge with knowing me, knowing you'll, the Christmas special. Are you Alan Partridge fans? Get out.
That's about all I know.
That'll do.
Okay.
Nothing? You got
I've
nothing
been to
for me?
Norwich once.
Norwich, yeah.
That's all I can give.
Saw
to
a big
this.
mural of him.
Nice.
That's as far as I'm going with it.
Well, you're more of a super fan than me because I've never been to Norwich. Anyway, his Christmas special, he builds a replica of his home.
Love it.
At ridiculously high expense for no reason whatsoever.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah, it's very lovely. Well, if this is what your home looks like, it's very nice.
I always
Love
have
the
a
old
massive
school
light.
apple.
Yep.
Oh my God, yes. I wish we could show everyone that, but
Yeah.
oh well.
Still works. It's very slow.
Yeah.
It's interesting to use because it makes you realise what we were
How
dealing
far
with.
we've come.
Yeah, in a very short space of time. How infuriating it is to be waiting for a computer to do something. Anyway, sidetracked already.
I know.
You're here specifically because of something you've got coming up this week, but or next week.
Depends when this is going.
6 days. This is going out the day before. The day before the launch event, but obviously, yeah, it'll be permanent from then on. But also,
just get really comfy now.
It's part of a larger project, isn't it? So, what is it?
Go on. Otherwise, you'll start me off and I won't shut.
This is your elevator pitch, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although it's not, because I'm already bought in.
Good.
I'm
Love
already
it.
invested.
Good. So Laura and I created the Happy You project in January.
Yeah.
Right?
So we met our engine
Yeah.
and decided that we both had tools and
You hit the microphone. How dare you? How dare you?
She's so excited.
I know. Go on, you met an engine.
and we decided that we both had we just loved each other, didn't we?
We did.
Just loved each other.
Yeah, we've never met
Isn't that
before.
sweet?
Yeah.
And so, just got good vibes, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's like, you're my kind of person.
So then we decided to try and work together with my yoga and Laura's learning development background. And then somehow, magically, the Happy You project was created.
Okay. And what is a Happy You project? What does it do?
Well, it's a movement, and we want... Don't laugh, it is.
Why are you laughing? Do you think that sounds pretentious?
No, it's just...
It does sound a bit...
No,
I love it.
But
we had this conversation when we spoke in mine and your podcast.
Yeah.
About how it's like sometimes can have negative connotations, like yoga and movements and well-being, self-improvement, all those sorts of things. But on the surface, it appears that. But when you think about it and actually look into it, it's not.
Yeah. So thank you.
It's all right.
So you don't laugh. No, so we're trying to create a movement, starting in Northampton, and hopefully spreading out. But the idea being that we wanted to spread a bit of love and positivity to people in different ways. So we started off with workshops, which we're still running, which combine yoga and meditation, and then the kind of peer learning group work that I lead. So that's my section of it. Yeah. And we cover different topics every month, and we do things like effective communication, visualization and goal setting, and just focus on topics that people might need some practical hands-on tools to use in everyday life to make sure that they are living happily in the best way possible.
Yeah.
So we started off with that in mind, and then it was really weird. So there's a story coming, Josh, so sit comfortably.
Do it.
About
I'm not going to take my shoes off and sit cross-legged.
Why not?
Well, I can't sit cross-legged.
Oh.
That's why you need to come to yoga.
That is exactly why I need to go to yoga.
You have to come.
My boots would just take too long.
Fine, okay.
Is that good enough excuse?
So about a year ago, I went to Eden Project's community camp, and I can't remember if I mentioned this on the last podcast or not, so apologies if I'm going over old ground, so stop me if you've heard this story
please,
before.
carry on.
So what that was Eden Project in Cornwall. You can apply and you can go and take part in a weekend of events which encourages you to do stuff actively in your community. So as part of that, you have to take an object which has inspired you.
Right.
So I took along with me a copy of the Happy newspaper, which is put together by a lovely girl called Emily Coxhead, who is a northerner. She's a graphic designer, writer, illustrator, all sorts of amazing talents. And she's created this newspaper that celebrates all the happy news in the world.
Cool.
And it's lovely. And it was reading that newspaper and a few other things that then inspired me to start the blog, It's Character Building.
Cool.
Which led me here. So about 5 weeks ago, we were talking about the next workshop or something, and Paige said to me, I really want to put together some kind of publication that is like all about happy news for Northampton. I was like, oh my God, I've been thinking about this for like a year and I haven't done it yet, and because I'm not brave enough to do it on my own, and yes, let's do it. So that's when we thought, right, we're going to put together a zine. Now, you might want to define what a zine is, because I had to Google it when you first mentioned it to me.
Yeah, I've got an idea, but please clarify, yeah.
I don't know the Oxford. I don't think it's even in the Oxford.
It's probably in the Urban Dictionary.
Yeah.
It probably means something totally different.
So it's just a kind of handmade, written, designed piece of paper with
almost like leaflets.
Yeah.
With whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
That's the loosest term it can be. It's anything. It can be about art. It can be about cameras. It can be about skating. It can be anything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what it reminds me of. Is the word zine the origin of that, or the etymology? Like, is it a fanzine? Because I know like old punk magazines and flyers and stuff like that, where they'd cut it out and make it. And
I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
I think that's the basis of
it's
it.
Like fan club would produce stuff.
Yeah, like you say, like the punk movement is very much like the kind of cut out collage-y type DIY publication that's like photocopied and sent out and stuff. So we wanted to create some kind of zine that celebrates all of the amazing things that happen in the town, because what we noticed when we started the Happy You project is we started meeting loads of people, the likes of you, Josh, and then through Engine we've met loads of people, and we're getting more involved in community groups and aspects, and we just keep thinking there's so many amazing things going on, and we're not shouting about it enough, because all we see in the newspapers are the council's going to shit, and this is closing and funding cuts here and like people moaning about Northampton, and we're sick of it, because actually this is an amazing place.
Yeah, it really is.
And we've both lived we've moved away and chosen to come back, and we just want to make sure that people are aware of what's going on And I think there's lots of different like news outlets that you can look at, but it doesn't really focus on positivity and positive news. There's normally some kind of negative spin, or there's like, an article that's not necessarily, selling the place that well.
Yeah.
So that's what we wanted to do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. And you know what? I bet a lot of other people have had the same idea because there are a lot of people like us, I think, that are doing things that they want to do, that are starting projects or businesses, or even if it's like starting a band or starting a club night or whatever it is. And there's no central thing, whether it's a website or I think what a zine has over a website is because websites are so easy to do, there's a lot of really bad ones. And whereas the quality of your zine will arguably be better than if you did it on a website. And it's all in one place. So you're not looking through different pages and links and all that sort of stuff. And the people that are reading it are people that want to read it. They're not going to accidentally buy it or accidentally read it. It's like, if you're into it, then you're reading it. Whereas you're not, on a website, it's anyone can access it, and people that aren't into it will think it's not for them or whatever. But to have that, it looks good. And I think it will help you find the right people, whereas a website might not do.
And like we've said before, there's so much like noise on the internet. It's digitally like so noisy, and it's difficult to find what you're really looking for. And it's just always fighting for look at me, that kind of stuff. Whereas we wanted to make something physical that people could like. It's tangible then, and it's just nice to have something that you can look at and that's designed well, and it's just different, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think it's nice for people, because we want to include like all Northampton talent, that it's more inviting for people to want to know about it, rather than just be some random thing about a random something and then just be like, oh yeah, that's cool that you're doing that. Like we want to include as many people as possible. So it's more exciting. Then people can be like, oh, well, I want to be in it, or I want to do something to help. And it brings this community together and brings more people who are like-minded to actually be like, yeah, this place is really cool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. And I think it has a potential to be that thing that brings everyone together. Now, fingers crossed, obviously. Now, it might not, in reality, in reality, it might not do that. It might do that. It might exceed that. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But just doing it that's your part of the deal.
Exactly. And I think that's where we kind of came from with it, is whether 20 people care about it or 20,000 people care about it. That's not really, we're not sitting here trying to think about, oh, what numbers do we need and how much money are we going to make out of it? Because we're not going to make any.
No.
It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's really about, it's a passion project, and it's something that we're really interested in making sure, like Paige says, people want to get involved and they see it, and perhaps they want to contact us with stories and stuff that's happening in their street. Or they know people that want to illustrate for us or write something, or anything at all. If people want to get involved, that's the whole point of it. And then it becomes something that is really community spirited.
Yeah.
And if it means that loads of people read it, amazing. I mean, that would be a happy accident almost. That would be amazing. But as I say, if we only had like 100 people that really cared about it and really invested in it, fine. That's still 100 more than if we had sat back and done nothing.
Yeah.
So, it's we don't have big expectations, but we feel like the gut feeling is that it could be big.
Yeah.
So, we'll have to wait.
And I feel like the more people see other people doing stuff and pushing themselves and going out there, then they're like, okay, well, yeah, I can do what I want to do and not feel like worried, or because we both kind of just went in blindly like, okay, yeah, let's just do it.
Yeah. But that's the really exciting thing I find. It's like I found from opening the studio and doing the podcast, is I had an idea of what I wanted to do, and then I tried to do it. And really, that's it. I didn't write out a blueprint. I didn't speak to business managers and financial advisors and all this sort of stuff. It's like, what do I need? I need it printed. Ring a printer. How much is this? Okay. Well, it's that simple. I think people think that it's like you need these like business plans, and you need to speak to professionals and have calculations and forecast financial projections and stuff. No, you don't. You don't.
No.
You've proved that you can do it, and I bet it's that thing that's held people back from doing it. Because I've had discussions with people that wanted to do something similar. I had a discussion with a group of people that wanted to do a music-based zine, sort of Northampton thing. They've gone on to do New Notes. Is it New Notes? Northampton Notes.
It was New Boots. There we go. New Boots.
Yeah, I should have remembered that. But brilliant website. They decided to not have a physical magazine. They've gone on to do a website, but it's great. It's one of the only places in Northampton where you can go to get all of the events and stuff, and they do reviews, and they're, professional journalists and photographers and stuff.
Yeah,
so really, really good. But I've forgotten what my point was.
But they wanted to do a zine and decided not to.
Yeah, decided not to do it. And I think maybe it's because of that. You don't know how to do it, and you don't know, maybe you want to do it in a certain way, but it's not going to make enough money. And I think the more people you have involved, the harder it can become.
Yeah.
Like if there was more people involved in me doing my stuff, it wouldn't have happened. Not only because I prefer to be on my own, but also that's another set of opinions or another set of aims. If you aren't exactly the same as everybody involved, someone's got to give up what they want. Sometimes that works out for the best, but it depends what your motivation.
Yeah.
You want to do something that you want to do, but that is also good for other people. So it's finding that balance. I think more people can sometimes muddy the water a little bit.
Yeah. True.
But if you two get on so well, I imagine your ideas are probably similar.
Yeah.
Have you had any heated debates?
No.
Come on.
Not yet.
I said to Laura, like,
there's always
for me,
time.
I am more of like a dreamer ideas person.
Yeah. You don't want to actually do any work.
No, not
joking. I'm joking.
He's just stirring up an argument now. He's like, come on, they can't be this zen.
So I've spent a lot of time coming up with all these ideas. I'm like, oh my God, this is such a good idea, but not knowing how to make it tangible and an actual thing.
Yeah.
And I said to Laura, I was like, when we met, she was kind of like the catalyst that I needed to propel myself forward. Because I think we both agreed that I'm more of a creative side and Laura's more of the like, okay, how do we get from A to B, this, and this?
Yeah.
So we kind of like fit together perfectly.
I'd imagine, though, correct me if I'm wrong, you've probably taken on some of those characteristics that Laura has, and you've probably taken on some of the others as well.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
So that's the good part about working with other people is obviously you've all got your strengths, and coming together might have actually made this project happen, whereas you wouldn't have done it independently.
Yeah.
But you've learned a different way of doing it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think we're definitely learning from each other and the skill base.
Supposed to be like hell and like shouting down the phone and arguments.
I think because we both like fundamentally our values align, don't they? So whilst we might want to get to B in a different way, we both want to get to B. Like that's what we're and Paige teaches yoga and meditation. She's not going to be all like, and I've got to the point now where I know how to communicate a bit better. So perhaps if it was 10 years ago, I might have been a bit like, but there's no point. And the purpose and the philosophy behind the project is happiness and fun. So it can't really be stressful, and it can't really be, even putting the zine together, we don't know what we're doing. We're muddling through and we're just like, oh yeah, we should do that. But it will be what it will be.
Yeah.
And we're just we're not too stressed about it, are we?
No, not at all.
We kind of have this naive belief that everything's going to work out as well.
That's it, and you need that.
Yeah.
You need that. That's
just
exactly
blind optimism.
If you knew what you know now at the beginning, you might not have done it because it would be too much or it would be too difficult. Whereas if you just, it's what is it? Unconscious incompetence. You don't know how to do it, and you don't know what you don't know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's if I knew how hard running a studio would be, I definitely wouldn't have done it.
Really?
But I needed that ignorance and naivety, and it made me do it. And I'm so glad it did. I just thought, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Okay, now we're doing it. Like, great. Or I can plan it out and drown in numbers and all that sort of stuff. So you need that naivety.
Yeah.
You
And
can use it to your
people have
benefit.
asked us, they're like, so, you know, what are you trying to achieve, and how many do you need to sell, and are you going to be doing advertising, and what's your business model? And we're like, don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know yet, because it's all organic. Like we when we started off the Happy You project, we knew we wanted to do some kind of wellbeing courses. We didn't know quite what. We had some ideas, we trialed some stuff, we changed it, but it was all quite organic and natural and easy, wasn't it? Rather than sitting at the start in January thinking, right, by June we need to do this and this, because actually that wouldn't have worked for us at all.
No.
Yeah.
So
And I think when we look back from January till now, we've actually come. It's actually unbelievable.
like, how have we?
Like, it's only been 3 months really, and
I mean,
it's been fun.
You've got a legitimate company, you know, that's become a brand.
Yeah.
Because you're doing different things under that name, under that umbrella.
Yeah.
Which is really good. I mean, I don't know. As soon as I started to do other things under the same name, I thought, oh, okay, we're more than just this one thing now. I can lend that name to other things, and hopefully, if people have experienced it positively, then any other thing that I undertake, whatever it is, they'll be respected and trusted as well. And that's the important thing, because it frees you up a bit. Sometimes you can feel, I mean, you won't have because you've only done it for 3 or 4 months, but after a few years of doing just the same thing, it can become stale and not exciting. So the ability to be able to just have a new idea and do it and not have to start to build it up from nothing.
Yeah, I think
Really
that's what
great.
we like about the kind of umbrella and calling it a movement, as pretentious as that might sound. It's true, and it gives us that leeway to be like, okay, so we're doing wellbeing workshops, and actually we want to put a zine together, and that still works, that still fits, and like we've got other ideas, and it's like, okay, well, we can add that under this umbrella, and it all still makes sense because it's fundamentally all about positivity and happiness.
Yep.
And getting through shit. That's what it's about. And I think that's why it makes sense to kind of keep it under an umbrella, but then still have lots of different like avenues.
Yeah.
You know, Paige kind of has her own business as well, as do I do. So Paige does yoga and Ayurvedic therapy.
Yeah.
Ayurvedic, what's that?
Ayurvedic.
Ayurvedic.
Ayurveda is like an ancient science. So it translates as the science of life. It was written in the Vedas, so like 5,000 years ago. And it's about how to sustain life within yourself, healing yourself holistically through diet, lifestyle, plant medicine, that kind of thing.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Very interesting. And is that exclusively that lifestyle? So you said plant medicine. So is that not having any other type of medicine, or just a combination?
Nowadays, it's kind of hard to get away from pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
But it's just an alternative way to try and heal your body. We don't recommend that if you are on medication or anything, you just stop and go to this. But it's about learning what properties plants have and what they do in the body to heal itself.
Yeah. So there might be an alternative.
Yes.
If what you're taking or doing is having a negative effect, then it might be time to try something different. Surprisingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And natural things are quite often a good source. That's interesting.
Yeah.
How did you get into that? Because that's the first time I've heard of that phrase or that anything.
Yeah. Not a lot of people have heard of it.
Yeah,
So it's fine.
So how did you hear about it?
Ayurvedic? Do I say that right?
So for a long time, I had like digestive problems.
Yeah.
Went to the doctors like when I was 18, had a junior doctor, and she was like, right, if you don't change your diet, you're going to get cancer. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, like you haven't even asked me what my diet is, but okay.
Magic.
Yeah. So I kind of started to explore like alternative ways of trying to deal with the problem.
Yeah.
And nothing was really helping. Like I had colonoscopies, loads of different tests, nothing came back. So they just umbrella termed it as, oh, you've got IBS.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's not a thing,
No.
but cool.
Yeah. How that doesn't give you anything.
Yeah.
Does it? Yeah.
Just deal with it and shut up.
Yeah.
So I in 2016, I went on a yoga retreat in Bali, and they started to talk about Ayurveda and what Ayurveda is. And it just made so much sense that I was like, oh my God, this explains exactly why I am the way I am,
Right.
why my body is doing the things it's doing. And I changed like 2 or 3 things in my diet, and from having pain nearly every day to having pain like once a month, I was like, oh my God. So yeah.
That shit works.
Yeah, it really
That's
does.
incredible. Do you, what were the 2 or 3 changes?
So I started having ginger tea every morning.
Yeah.
I stopped eating heavily spiced food.
Right.
And no tomatoes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why tomatoes? What do they do? Or not do?
Tomatoes have a heating effect in your body,
Right.
which causes inflammation.
Okay.
So it's very complicated and confusing, but depending on what type of, what your body is made up of, if you already have a lot of heat in your body naturally, if you have heating foods, then it causes certain effects in your body.
Okay.
So with like different disorders and diseases, you're more prone, or you can understand what conditions you're more prone to if you are a certain type of person.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So the tomatoes I gave you for lunch, soz about that.
It's fine. I can have it in moderation, but yeah.
You didn't just give her a tomato.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, yeah.
I just
Like an
had,
apple.
yeah.
Tomato a day.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Ginger tea.
Yeah.
That's good.
But
for you.
ginger's not good for everyone. That's the thing. It's Ayurveda works because what is advised for you is specific for you, nobody else.
And how is that determined? What sort of thing you are?
So
Is that a blood test or is that?
no.
Okay.
So it's hard to explain.
Sorry if I'm.
It's fine. So in Ayurveda, there's 3 types of people.
Right.
Vata, Pitta, Kapha.
Right.
And depending on what type you are, determines your whole life.
Okay.
What your appearance is like, how your digestion works, how your bowel movements work, what your personality is like, what emotionally affects you.
Right.
All these things. And we all have the 3 types within us, but one is more prominent.
Okay.
So the idea of Ayurveda is keeping everything in balance. So if one type is overbearing, that's when issues start to be caused within your body.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So how do you diagnose what you are then?
So it's more easier to diagnose the imbalance first.
Right.
Because for some people, they have had an imbalance for so long that they might not even know who they originally were, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So they're whichever one is the highest, so to speak, is sort of drowned out the rest of it, so they don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah.
So they don't know what their natural state is because they're just so used to being the way they are and thinking that's normal.
Yeah.
And then once you start to work through that, then you can still determine in a way what a type of person usually is.
Yeah.
So usually you look at physical appearance, but nowadays that's more of like an ancient thing that used to be done because obviously Ayurveda was just in India and Sri Lanka in that area. So it's easier to determine fitting those boxes.
Yeah.
So now when I meet people, it goes on more how they interact with me and their personality. And then I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense why you're like that or why you're being like that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a really good way of accepting everyone for who they are because that's just who they are.
Yeah.
Rather than clashing with them and be like, why are you like this?
Yeah.
Because you're just like, oh, okay, I understand why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Sorry, I got a bit sidetracked there.
No, it's good. I'm interested. That's fascinating because, well, I think everyone's trying to work out everything, aren't
Mm-hmm.
they?
Yeah.
And there is no one size fits all solution.
No.
You know, even with things like horoscopes. There's 12 horoscopes, is that right? 10?
Yes,
I don't
12.
know. Like there's only 12 types of people in the world.
Yeah.
Obviously there's not. But some people read them and it solves their problem, whatever that problem is. So there are lots of different ways to solve lots of different problems.
Yeah.
You know, and you found what works for you and for the people that you work with.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of it.
And what's interesting, on my course, I'd say about 5% of the people there were NHS doctors or part of the NHS, and realised that the way Western medicine works and that they don't look for the root of the problem, they just kind of cover it up with the symptoms, and that everyone must fit into one criteria, or it's, I don't know, let's just have an umbrella term.
Yeah.
It's not working. So when the first lesson I went to, and there was like doctors there, I was like, oh wow, okay, like this is serious, because if a doctor isn't believing in what they're doing, then something's going wrong somewhere.
That's it. I think that's so much more the case now. Whereas when you go to a doctor and they give you medication, now that's not to put down doctors. You're in pain and they're stopping you from being in pain, which is fantastic. That's exactly what you want when you go to the doctor.
Yeah.
But you also want to find the root of the problem, and obviously there's a lot to do with that. You know, treating somebody's problem and you've got 12 minutes to do it or whatever.
Yeah.
They're given an impossible job, in my opinion, GPs in particular.
Yeah.
So I think we're more or less driven to find alternative methods, or pay privately so that you have more time with a specialist.
Yeah.
You're not waiting for, I had back problems and have done for 10 or 15 years. And that was a case of, I paid 300 quid for an X-ray, for an MRI, came back clear. They said, take a painkiller when it hurts. Now, and I tried that and that didn't work. So, I bought books and looked into stuff and tried different methods and stuff, but people can't afford to do that. That's really expensive. So what are the options? So you have to go to things like that.
Yeah.
You have to look for alternative methods, whether they're traditional science and medicine or ancient medicine or whatever. So the fact that it's accessible, thanks to people like you, and it is solving people's problems because you're evidence of that, then that's fantastic, isn't it? And the ability to be able to do that, to set up your own business doing that, that's not something that's always been possible.
No, not at all.
So I've said to a couple of people that have come in, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, if you wanted a business, you needed an accountant, you needed, a business manager, you needed a photographer to take your pictures for your adverts. You needed all of these. If you wanted a video, you needed to hire a video company to come and do it with a cameraman and all that sort of stuff. Whereas now, if you've got a phone and a laptop, that's it.
Yeah.
And who hasn't got a phone and a laptop? The majority of the world.
Yeah.
So it's, you can just start a business on your own, like your zine.
Yeah.
It's great. So where can people find you and that business?
So I am on Facebook, The Saged Space, or on Instagram, Saged Space.
What does that mean?
So have you ever heard of like being saged?
No. Why are you doing
Paige
this?
has saged me.
Oh, you've been...
Sounds
you've
all
had a
levels
Paige
wrong.
saging.
But
What's the... is that sage as in actual sage?
burning it.
So it's dried sage.
Yeah.
It comes in like a bundle.
Yeah.
It's from, it's actually Native American tradition.
Right.
And they would burn it like before ceremonies and rituals and that kind of thing to clear the space that they were using of any unwanted energy.
Yeah.
So it's used a lot now kind of in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
To kind of just clear yourself of any stagnant energy or any unwanted energy. So you can do it to yourself, you can do it to your house. You just burn it and kind of waft it around.
Yeah.
So I use saged because I feel like with Ayurveda and yoga, that's kind of what the feeling that you come away with, that you've been cleared of
Okay.
this like energy that you don't want, and you feel like relax and calm and just new again.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Josh is like, how do I sign up?
No,
I need to get saged.
Yeah.
We should sage the audio works.
Help yourself.
Yeah.
Help yourself.
Not that there's any negative energy here. It's all good vibes.
There's a lot of anger. Some
Angry
of the songs
music.
that they're singing, I'm sure they're working through some stuff.
That's good.
So there might be some remaining bad energy. Yeah, no, totally. That's that just makes me think of things like Turkish hot baths when they're hitting each other with.
There's no hit in here.
It's not sage, but I don't know what it is. It's like brush.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same similar sort of thing, and it's not burnt, but it's like part of the good for your skin process, hot and cold and all that sort of stuff, which is cleansing, but physically cleansing, isn't it?
They do it in Aboriginal people do it with eucalyptus as well, eucalyptus leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Like sweat lodges as well. That's a cleansing thing, isn't it? And saunas, you know, I mean, that's all supposed to be good for you physically, but probably mentally as well.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that extreme cold and extreme heat is really good for you in short bursts, obviously.
Yeah. There you go.
That's interesting. Needs some more research, I think.
We can send you some links.
Yeah.
Thank you.
When I say we, Paige.
Yeah.
I'm learning as well.
I'll put a link to that onto your Facebook page in the show notes. So that's your business that you also run as well as the zine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Oh, what don't I do? So writing mainly. So we talked last time about the blog that I started. It's character building.
Yeah.
Which is still going, still a thing.
It's great.
Thanks. Do you read?
Good job. Yeah.
Yay. Of course you do.
Yeah.
No, I joke because one of my friends that I went to her birthday, Ellie, shout out to Ellie, she still doesn't read my blog, and we've been friends for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's just it's like a standing joke now. It's like, when are you going to read my blog?
Well, the thing is, they're too close to us. They think they already know what we're thinking.
Yeah.
They don't need to find out your inner workings. They know you.
She's lazy, basically.
And she's lazy.
What she's waiting for is the podcast. So, which
Aren't we all?
I know.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, aren't we all?
It's incoming, I promise.
Okay.
After the zine launch, definitely podcast next thing. So yeah, writing, and I'm freelance writing. So I'm writing mainly magazine articles at the moment. So I'm doing loads of pitching work, and I've got a couple of paid articles finally. Because what I'm realising about writing is that people want you to do it for free all the time. It's like, okay, no, I'm not doing that anymore.
You can, you. It's like a lot of things, like the creative industries. I think photography, video, writing, illustration, graphic design. When you're starting out, it's okay to do some free stuff for experience and to show people what you can do.
Yeah,
and then
and it's
they
been
should
brilliant.
Start
A lot of the opportunities that I've had up until now have been amazing, and it's really given me a platform.
Yeah, you can't do it forever.
But no. There's a line now. So yeah.
And your sorry to interrupt. Your work is good and it's worth paying for.
Stop.
But you are probably reluctant to say that, aren't you? Yeah. Well, you shouldn't be, but you do. You feel. Am I worth this?
Yes.
Is that too much? It's like. No,
I think it's because I can't remember if I said last time or not, but because I'm not I'm not a journalist. I don't have a English language degree or whatever you would need. And so, something that started as a hobby that I thought was just for fun, that no one would ever read. Yeah. Now, obviously, people do read it. There's still that kind of imposter syndrome of, oh, well, I don't know. Yeah. Like, no one's told me that, I haven't had permission to do it. But what I've realised is you don't just give yourself permission.
Yeah.
I met this woman on a train, which is a whole different other story. But she kind of sat me down recently and said, Laura, you're a writer. You're a writer with a blog, but you're a writer first and foremost. And I was like, yeah, I'm not. Yeah. She was like, no, you write, so you're a writer. I was like, oh, okay. And it just kind of all kind of clicked. I was like, yeah, I guess I am.
Yeah.
So yeah, just doing the writing stuff. And then I'm still working part-time for Age UK, which is fantastic and really enjoying that work. Because I'm working with older people coming towards the last 12 to 18 months of life. and supporting them and kind of putting stuff in place to help them. So that's like massively fulfilling.
And
love that.
And emotionally taxing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's obviously I started that in January, so it's a fairly new, it's a pilot project for Age UK, and hopefully it will be rolled out nationally if it goes well in Northampton.
Okay.
So we're working with GP surgeries and we get referrals from them, and then we go and assess people and sit down with their families and their carers and talk to them about do they have a will in place? Do they have a bucket list that they want to enact? Do they even know what their kind of health condition is and how they're managing it? And signposting them. And one lady the other day just wanted to get her hair done. She was like, "Can I have I just need a hairdresser to come round to the house." I was like, "Cool, let's sort that out." So it's all just advocating for people and helping them, and dealing with people in their 80s and 90s who are just amazing and amazing characters. I can't, obviously for data protection, I can't say too much. But like one of the ladies is just, she gives me life. Like she swears more than I do.
Excellent.
She's 84 or 85.
Yeah.
She asked me when am I going to fucking have kids and all this stuff. And I was like, not really sure. Maybe never.
That's good. I like that. Yeah.
But it just like, and you don't expect that. You kind of, in my mind, it was like, oh, it's all going to be like lovely little, quiet older people. Nah, they have lived. And,
nobody's had a boring life.
No, and they're so sassy, and they're just like, everyone I'm meeting has got so many stories, and it's lovely, and it fits in really well. The organisation, Age UK Northants, are amazing anyway, and they're really flexible with what I'm doing. They're really supportive of everything that I'm doing outside of Age UK.
Yeah.
I had one of the NHS commissioners, because they commissioned some of the work for Age UK. Well, I hadn't met him, and he walked in, he was like, "So you're the girl with the blog?" I was like, "Oh God, that's me." And so they're really on board with it, which is really nice, because obviously if I'm kind of employed part-time, I thought they might be a bit like, shouldn't really do that because it might look bad on us that you're writing a blog that you say fucking or whatever. But they're cool. They're
That's
amazing.
good. That's really good to have that flexibility, because you need, I think it's so important to be able to talk and say what you want to say. Obviously, if your intention is to offend people, then that's stupid in my opinion.
Yeah.
But if something you say inadvertently offends someone, that's a different thing. So to be able to talk openly and write or talk how you talk.
Yeah, not being censored by anyone is a good thing.
I mean, we all know that, if you're standing in the queue at the shop, don't start shouting out swear words, because it's probably not a great idea.
No.
And it's not going to prevent, not swearing is good, and you'll still be able to say what you want to say.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't be restricted or censored in any way. So the fact that you don't have to be, because a lot of people who have a full-time job or professional responsibilities can't quite do what they want to do because they have to bear in mind. But that's cool that you're able to have that freedom.
Yeah, and I think like obviously it's very separate. What I do for Age UK in that professional sphere is what I do in that sphere.
Yeah.
And then although Age UK National would like me to write for them as well, which is amazing.
Excellent.
So hopefully that will be coming up as well. But it is two separate things. But I love the variety of it, because it gives me that freedom to kind of dip in and out. And like you said, with the job that I'm doing for Age UK, it could potentially be very emotionally draining.
Yeah.
But because I'm only there like 20 hours a week, it doesn't feel that all consuming.
Yeah.
Because when I'm there, I'm kind of very focused on it. But as soon as I walk out the door, I'm thinking about 20 things I need to do for the zine, or like, what blog post do I need to write? And kind of the brain goes off somewhere else. So it's the perfect mix of having the freedom and creativity for self-employment, but also just having a nice anchor. And it's a good anchor to the community as well, and getting face to face with a demographic of people who are really socially isolated.
Yeah.
And supporting them in a really important time, and the whole point of the project is to help people die well. And that sounds really controversial and really like, oh God, everyone I've told about the job is like, how can you do this? Like, how can you just keep talking about death all the time? Like, what? But it's not. We're talking about living. We're not talking about dying. We're talking about, right, what we're doing now, how are we making things easy? And sitting and thinking about a will or an advanced care plan, so that if they can't talk for themselves and they need to have medical decisions made, who's going to do that and how? Well, actually, that's stuff we should all be thinking about. And it's definitely something that I've started thinking about, and I'm turning 35, but could get run over by a bus tomorrow, and then what? And I've had some really great training from Cynthia Spencer Hospice, who are bloody fantastic. They're amazing, and every time I go in there, the people who work there are just, it's like you just get like some kind of emotional hug from them, because they're just so warm and lovely, because you'd have to be to work in hospice. And they do fantastic work, and they put on training, and they've kind of taught us how to have these conversations about like advanced care planning, which is about the medical decisions and stuff. And so it's just been great from that side of it. I can't remember what the question was. It probably wasn't, just like...
No. Well, I wanted to know what else you do outside the zine, and that's more than enough.
So the writing is more than enough. Okay, shut up now, Laura.
No, I mean, you're doing a lot of work. That's what I'm thinking. You know what?
Very busy.
What struck me when you were saying that, working... I spoke to somebody the other day who wanted me to help them with something because of some experience that I've got with here, and I was like, more than happy to do it. And... the studio opening hours are from 5 p.m, so quite often when people aren't at work. And I said, yeah, sure, come down to the studio. I'll spend as much time as you need. I'm open at 5, so I come down at 5:30 or something. And they're like, no, I finish work at 5. And I thought, I really wanted to say, don't worry about it. You're obviously not that interested. It's like, as soon as 5 o'clock goes, no, I'm not doing any more work now. Like, when you work for yourself, you'll both experience that. It's like, there's no real time restrictions. No. I mean, every now and then you do have to put some restrictions in place because you can't work 24 hours a day. But just that idea of like, oh, I want can I have your help? Yeah, of course. Well, can you come at this time? No. I only get paid between 9 and 5. And anything outside that, I'm not doing. It's like, you really don't want to do this. Then don't. Well, I'm not interested.
Yeah, I think that's what we've definitely learned about self-employment is there is no such thing as 9 to 5 anymore.
No.
And there's no such thing as a weekend.
No.
And it's brilliant, but it got to the point a couple of weeks ago where I realised I hadn't had a full day off in like 3 weeks straight. And I was like, oh God, I'm on the brink of a breakdown. I just need to. So I just like had to take a day off. Because you get so caught up in it, don't you? Because we're motivated about what we're doing.
Yeah.
And
it's fun.
It's fun, and it doesn't feel like work, does it? It's just like, we're making a zine now. And it just, you get a bit carried away.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's good. That's always a difficult balance. I struggle to get the right balance because there's always something to do, and you're the only person to do it. And you chose this job, but you need. It seems that some people can work 16 hours a day every day for the rest of their lives, but I think that's not healthy.
It's not sustainable. I don't think.
No, I think inevitably some people will be able to do it, but it's like 1 in 5,000 people can do that, and I'm not that one.
I don't know if you've noticed, but do you ever get like the guilt of, because you're self-employed or whatever, the guilt of not getting your stuff done? And then you're like, I should have done that today and I didn't do it. And then you kind of like tell yourself off because you didn't work hard enough or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you get that as well?
Because
I'm so lazy.
Yeah, like, and
at 11 o'clock at night, I'm so lazy.
The buck stops at you. So that's the hard thing, it's like, if you haven't made enough money this month, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Nobody else's fault. You should have done more work.
Yeah.
And but that you can't always live like that because that doesn't have an end. That doesn't have a finish time. You can always earn more money, but you need to. It's about getting that balance right. You need to put some restrictions in there. When I started here, we were open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I wasn't here 24 hours a day, but if you wanted to make a booking from 3 till 6 in the morning, That's fine. I'll do that. But you narrow that down and narrow it down and narrow it down to work out what works. And I think you have to do that, and you work it out what you need to do. And when when you need the money and you haven't quite got enough work, you just have to take everything that comes in, because it's not worth not paying the mortgage. It's not worth not paying, filling the car with petrol or whatever. But if it's short term, you can handle it.
Yeah.
It's when it becomes long term, you start to crumble. Yeah.
I feel like we should write a book about self-employment, like the three of us, and like all of the mistakes to avoid.
I think it's both the best decision I ever made and the worst decision I ever made.
Do you reckon you could ever go back now to like being employed by someone?
That's why it's the worst. That's why it's the worst decision, because it's the best thing because I can do what I want.
Yeah.
But you got all the responsibility.
Yeah.
There's nobody else to blame, and I could never work for anyone else again in my life.
No.
So
you're screwed.
Yeah, I've eliminated every job that exists. The only jobs left are ones that I make myself.
Yeah.
And you'll be the same. I mean, maybe there's a perfect job out there. Somebody wants to pay me to do this. Lots of money, but then
still,
I'd want to do what I'd want to do, and who's going to pay me to do what I want to do? Nobody. So that's it. It's you're hoist by your own petard, as they say. You could
be like a YouTube sensation, then you get paid to do whatever you want.
Oh my god, can you please be a YouTube sensation?
Doing what?
This.
What?
Oh, okay.
Who's the guy?
I'm working on it. Give it time.
Who's the guy that did your video for you? Doesn't he manage?
Charles.
He manages YouTube people. He could be on new.
We're working together now.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so we're doing some things, but
please.
Yeah, but he's has a company Ziggurat, and he manages some very extremely successful YouTube channels.
Mate, get on it.
Which is fascinating stuff. But they're like really interesting, legit people that
So
do.
you?
Yeah, well, thank you, but they have unique skills or something. Might be some people that would be interesting to you guys. Some writers
definitely.
and travellers and things.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to
hook us up.
Yeah, it's interesting.
We need all the deets.
So, how do you feel about going? You're basically self-employed now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how do you feel?
How do I feel?
I mean, it's early days, I suppose.
Yeah, it's still early days. It's definitely been completely different to how I expected it to be.
Yeah.
I knew it would be hard work. I didn't realise how like draining it, like physically and emotionally draining it would be, because obviously, like I said, I made the mistake of like not taking time off, and the guilt of like, oh, I'm not working hard enough, and all of that kind of stuff that I didn't expect to feel. So it's kind of like realising that those are things that I need to learn. But on the flip side, like I can go up and babysit my nieces and like still be able to do work and spend time with them in the holidays, and I would never have done that before. And go and visit my dad during the week and go and walk around the golf course with him and my uncle and watch them play golf. And it's like those types of things give me life. Because like I very rarely got time to see the people that I loved when I was in my old job, because I was traveling across the UK all the time, and it was just very difficult to keep in contact with people. So there's the beautiful flip side of it, and that was the whole point as well, is to have that flexibility to actually spend that time with people. And then I can go, I was, as I say, walked around the golf course and got rained on, and then did some work in my dad's spare room in the afternoon, and then like had a drink with him in the evening, and it was just lovely. And it's like,
you've got freedom.
And
some
it's just
freedom.
stuff that I couldn't have done before. So yeah, it's good and bad. I think it will be, for me, it's going to be amazing when I've got a good pipeline stream of income. Like, because obviously now it's just hustling for it. But again, I knew that would happen. So, and I wasn't stupid enough to think that it wouldn't be difficult. So, we both, because it got to the point where I was like, oh God, we've done this workshop. If we work out how over the hourly rate, how much we've earned, it's like all of the promo and writing all of the stuff, and then, taking the time on the day, and then like, spending an hour afterwards chatting to the people who'd been on the course and stuff. But we're just building, aren't we?
Exactly.
And that's the whole point of self-employment, is you will get to the point, if you have the belief, which we do, we will get to the point where abundance is here.
Yeah.
And at the moment, this is the graft. So
yeah, and we're building the foundations. Like the feedback we've got so far is amazing. So it's just setting a foundation. This is who we are. This is what we can give, and just attracting people to that.
Yeah, I think the way I look at it is, it's like you're building building a shop. You are you're figuratively building a shop. You're, while that building is going up and you've got bricklayers in and you've got electricians in, you're just paying them to do the work. You're paying, all the money's going out. But when the building is finished, you can start putting your stuff in it and start selling it and making some money. But in the initial stages, you're building, it's all outgoings.
Yeah.
But eventually it'll open to the public, and then you'll be start selling your wares, whatever they are, whether it's workshops or writing or magazines or whatever it is. So yeah, it's no different to actually building a shop. Do you know what I mean? I think
I definitely would find it difficult to go back full time working for someone. Like I always said to I know. Paige is like, no.
Well, you've got flexibility in your stuff because it's not time restricted.
Yeah.
If you want to sleep all day and work all night, you can do that.
Yeah. Which I love. Like that's God. But yeah, like I think I definitely struggle to go back now because it is so fun. And as much as I do, I do moan every now and again, and I'm like, oh God, this is hard work, and am I doing the right thing? Because that's just normal human nature. At the end of the day, if it feels right, it feels right. Yeah. And I was talking to Pip over at Engine a couple of weeks ago. And he was just like, you know what? As soon as we opened Engine, it just felt like I was in exactly the right place, doing exactly the right thing. Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's how I feel with all of this stuff. And he was like, yay! I'm so happy. Yeah. But it's true. And it was never, for me, it was never about, I wasn't money motivated. I used to work in central London. So did Paige, earning stupid money, but being absolutely dead inside.
Yeah.
And just, we're not about that life.
No. Right? And that's what, like since January to now, real talk, my mental health has never been better. And I used to always be like, why am I always feeling like this? And now it's because I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't happy in what I was doing. I was working for someone else. I was treated like a piece of shit. And I was just like, but I was like, oh no, like that's normal and that's what I need to do. And I'm earning this. Yeah, so it's fine.
Yeah. Even
though like I might get on the tube and get blown up. I had a terrible fear about that.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh dear. Every day.
Yeah.
Crikey.
It was when all the stuff in London was happening.
Yeah.
Oh, no. So yeah, like my mental health just feels so much more better.
Yeah.
And just I'm actually like pumped and excited for the day, and like I'm doing like this really cool stuff that I'm passionate about and people love. So yeah,
and like the fact that we get to come here and have a chat with you.
Exactly.
We're working.
Like, exactly, we are working, and it's like this. What? This ain't work. We are living the dream.
Yeah. As much as this is a passion project for me, I enjoy doing it, and I just use it as an excuse to talk to interesting people. Hopefully, it can start making money and paying for itself and stuff, and won't cost me, so it is a business in itself while I'm not producing stuff, and but and you're here, although we're having a chat, this is some promotion for your project. Definitely. And hopefully people will want to find out about everything that you've talked about.
And this is the whole point, is like making connections with people in our community. You being like a very important person. But no, I love that though. Like I would never have met you before. I would never like there would have been no reason for me to even have anything to do with you or know anything about what you were doing, because I was so outside of it and didn't feel connected to the community that I was living in. Whereas now, thanks in part to Engine and being sort of like being able to meet so many people through that co-working space. But it's just opened up a bit of a door, hasn't it? Because and here we all are. And we never would have known each other like 6 months ago. We were strangers and now we're friends.
It's strange, isn't it? It shouldn't be. It should be normal.
Yeah.
But it's not, because we don't put ourselves out there. I think the older we get, the less inclined we are to speak to new people, send someone a message and say, I'm interested in what you're doing. Can I chat to you about it? That's that's weird. Like people say to me, well, not all the time, but every now and then someone will say, oh, how did you get that person on your podcast? Why did you speak? And it's like, well, I saw they were doing something. I thought that's cool. So I sent them a message and said, can we have a chat? That's it. It's not like, this big, I didn't pay them. I didn't, get my agent to speak. It's like, just speak to people. You don't know them, but you don't know them yet. Do you know what I mean?
It's like with Bethany. Were you going to say that?
Oh no.
Oh.
Yeah.
You finishing each other's...
It's so cringe. If I was back in another 6 months, it would probably be like, oh, I hate her. Like, I'm so over it now. No.
Don't put that out into the universe.
No, I'll love you forever.
It's too late. It's out.
BFF for life. No, Bethany Hall, who has illustrated our cover for the first scene. Like, Paige had seen her work online. She's from Northampton.
I was going to say.
Oh, you actually going to say that? Oh my god!
I was going to say we had a week where we're like, do you know what? We're just going to just go for it and just whatever. Like, if we don't ask, we don't get.
Yep. Yep.
So everything that we asked for, we got.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
We were like, okay, we're going to go to Artist Table about the party. I was like, I want the Artist Table. It's happening there.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
We don't have any money to pay for it.
You didn't say that to them, did you?
No.
I was thinking that's why you got it. You went in there all like
Yeah, no. We met with Nicola, who is absolutely a dream. And so supportive. And we kind of said, look, we just fessed up from the start. We're like, we've got no budget. We're like, we're doing this on a shoestring. We're out of pocket. Just please help us. Take pity on us, basically. And she was like, oh, okay, cool.
We walked out, we were like...
Yeah. She's great. Nicola Griffiths from the Artist Table.
Yeah.
She's been on the
Love
podcast,
her.
actually.
Has she? Oh, I need to listen to that episode.
It was a while ago. I think it was before she had the cafe.
Okay.
Because she was just doing the events, the networking events that weren't shit.
Yes.
I don't think she was saying it, but that's what I'm saying. Because they were actually cool and fun to be at. I'd never made it to them, but all reports were that they're all really good.
Yeah.
Amazing food and really interesting people, rather than, a bowl of hula hoops and crappy business cards. Yeah. But yeah, she's a fascinating person. Sad to hear that it's closing down, but I'm sure that's because there are bigger things on the horizon.
I think so. I get that vibe from her.
Yeah.
We're going to meet with her tomorrow about the launch, so I'm going to find out what she's moving on to next, because it will be amazing no matter what. So yeah, like we said about the Artist Table, and then about Bethany, because we didn't know her, and Paige was like, oh, do you think she'd do the cover? Like, we've got no money, like, do you think she'll do it? And I was
really
like, come on, let's just ask her. And then she was like, straight away, she was like, yeah, so into it, I'm doing it. I was like, oh,
all this stuff was happening, we were like, right, from now on, we just ask and we'll get.
And we have to shout out James as well.
And James.
So my next door neighbour, James Bancroft, I only met him because I did the street party. Did I tell you about that last time?
Yes, yeah.
So,
let's say it again, because people might not have heard that one.
So I'd lived on my street for 3 years. It was the first place that I had bought, and I was super excited because I'd rented for 10 years in flats and stuff, and didn't know any of my neighbours, and never got involved in the community around me. And 3 years on, I was like, shit, I still don't know anyone on my street. This is rubbish. Put loads of excuses in my head, like, oh, well, I work away and I work long hours, and like, well, no one made the effort with me, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, sick of listening to my own bullshit. So decided that I would write a handwritten letter to all of my neighbours to say, let's put a street party on, because I feel like we need to come together and connect. Invited people around my house. I think 8 people showed up, and that was like the street party committee. And then we made this party happen last August, and it was filmed for the Eden Project, because I'd been to their camp. So we had a camera crew up. There was like 60 people. There was music, food. Everyone got involved, and now I feel like I know pretty much everyone on the street, and I've made really lovely connections with loads of households, but specifically my next door neighbours who I'd never met. Cringe. And James is a graphic designer, and we were going to try and put the zine together ourselves, because we knew we could do the writing part of it, and we had the ideas about like the layout and stuff, and we were like, yeah, it's grand. And then Paige designed the invites for the launch party, and it took you
3 days.
3 days to do.
Looks wicked.
It looks sick.
But it took me a long time.
But it took you forever. So we realised that actually we need some professional help. So sort of spoke to James about it and said, look, James, we need some help. Do you have any time? Bless him. He works full time. He does some freelance work. But we were like, we've got no budget. Can you do it for us for free? And he was just like, yeah, okay. And he has been amazing. Like he was around my house last night on his laptop after a full day at work, kind of like, right, okay, let's sort out this. And he's just what we could have done in like 2 weeks, he does in half an hour.
Yeah.
And without him, the dream of the zine could not have come to be.
Yeah.
And he's totally on board with it. And I'm like,
cool.
James, I'm really sorry you're not getting anything from this, like money wise. And he was like, no, it's, you know, and I think he really wants to be part of it. And he's already talking about like the next issue and what we need to do differently and all the lessons we've learned. I'm like, oh,
That's
James,
great.
you're
That's
my
great.
angel.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like, if you don't ask, you don't get, but you've got to put yourself out there and just try.
Yeah.
That's it. I think people ask me for stuff like, oh, I need to borrow some equipment or whatever. And sometimes I can help them out, sometimes I can't. But if I can't, I know someone who might be able to. And that's the thing. But if you don't ask, you don't get those connections. And people are afraid to ask. Understandably, you don't want people to feel like you're taking advantage of them. But I mean, it's in the way you ask, isn't it, really?
And I think that's what goes back to what community actually is. Like I used to live in a little village in Wales, and there'd be a plumber, a carpenter, and everyone would go to that one person that's like they had this connection with each other. And I feel like that's what it needs here. Like, don't be afraid to ask. Like we all live here, like we can all help each other, but we can all be here for each other as well and support each other. And that's what I love about the zine. It's like bringing people together, as I said before, and like utilising the skills. Like something that would have taken me 2 months has taken James like a week. And it's like a godsend. So yeah, that
sort of stuff really, I mean, skilled work like that, like graphic design particularly, because everything needs graphic design now, doesn't it? You know, images you're posting or whatever need editing or whatever. So when I started, I had some experience of that, so I did a lot myself, but it was slow and it wasn't great. It was okay, but then when you meet people, like I've had a guy called Dan Hall, who's a really great graphic designer and illustrator, and Megan Meagersvand, who's been on the podcast. She's really, really good. She does a lot of my stuff now. But they're so fast, and because they're like jobs on the side, they can charge you, if you can pay or whatever, a small amount that's achievable. They're getting some money. It doesn't take them long, and everyone wins out of that, really. I think, even the logo, the Audio Works logo.
Which, by the way, I love your new logo as well.
Friend of mine did that. He's got a graphic design company. You know, it's, you just ask these people. And if they can do you a deal, they can. If they can't, they can't. But if you don't ask...
And I think because we've put out, like, we're all the type of people that will help people if you can. Like Josh, you're always the type of person that'll be like, oh, anything you need, like, I'll help you. And I think if you're that type of person by nature, then people know that you're not taking the piss. Like, so if you ask me for something, I'll do it, because it's like, well, no, Josh is always like the first to offer. So
I mean, I'd say no to a lot of stuff, to my fair share of stuff. I'm not the most generous person in the world. But if it's something that I believe in or I think is good, or even selfishly, if I think I'll enjoy doing that, you know, then I get to do something I enjoy, and you get the help that you need. Do you know what I mean? So it can, you know, even if you're doing it from a selfish thing, it's still something that other people can benefit from as well.
And spoiler alert, you're a guest writer for the zine.
So we'll see how that goes.
What do you mean how it goes? You're part of Team Zine now. That's it.
Okay, excellent. I'm happy with that.
Love it.
Going back to what you were saying about you not considering yourself a writer. I'm definitely not a writer. That's the only thing I've written other than like blog posts.
And it was really good.
But they're basically bullet points, the blog posts that I do. I'd come to you for writing advice. Yeah, so you claim to not be a writer, but in my eyes, you're the voice of experience, and do you know what I mean? So
I'm legit. I've been on HuffPost now, so I'm legit now.
There you go.
And I'm like,
you're there.
I'm writing for them now.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Exactly. I mean, if you're not a writer, then what's that?
I know.
Don't tell them.
Don't tell her.
Is it Amanda Huffington? Is she?
Yeah.
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 That's an interesting story in itself, how that all came about.
Yeah.
I listened to a good podcast with her about I think it was How I Built This podcast.
Oh.
Check it out. They're great.
You've given me a list of podcasts though.
I know, but the
only ones I really listen to are yours, to be honest.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I subscribe to about 30
on
different...
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. About 30 different podcasts each week, and every one is good, you know. I'll try not to be the annoying person that's always saying, you should listen to this podcast, because I just say it all the time.
Well...
And you don't have time, do you?
No.
No.
Well, you have time. If you make time, you have time.
This is true. I was listening to one... As I've just said, I don't want to be the person.
Go on.
But it reminded me of what we were talking about, of like sort of imposter syndrome, or you're constantly moving the goalposts. So Damon John, who started Fubu, the clothing brand, he started selling hats on the corner of his street for $20 a go or something. He was making them in his bedroom. And the guy talking to him said, Fubu's worth 300 million now. And you started with $20 hats. Like, that's incredible. And he said, yeah, but Under Armour did 3 billion this year. And it's like, yeah, but 300 million, like, that's significant.
Yeah.
But his goalposts are moving. You know, if you'd have said when he was selling $20 hats, one day it's 300 million, he'd have been blown away, incredible. How is that even possible? And now he's there. He's like, yeah, but we're not quite there with the big guys yet. You forget where you come from. It's really easy, particularly when you're self-employed. You're constantly working towards these little targets, and you forget about all the little victories along the way.
I find it hard personally to praise myself and be like, oh wow, like you're doing all right for yourself.
And when people say it to you, you just basically ignore
like,
it.
oh yeah,
whatever. Yeah. But then what are you going to do? You're going to go, yeah, I'm brilliant.
Yeah,
like,
actually,
you feel like that's what it is.
I don't know if you've heard, but we're a bit of a big deal right now.
It's hard it's hard when all of the work you're doing yourself.
Yeah.
So if somebody is praising you for that work, I don't know. It feels like if you're working for a company and there's a victory, it's like a shared victory, and that's easier to accept, isn't it? It's like, oh, well, yeah, we did okay. There was a few of us and we did some good work. Whereas if you're saying, yeah, I did okay, I did some really good, it feels like almost arrogant, doesn't it?
Well, I think with like companies and stuff as well, like obviously you have your appraisal and stuff, and I've always been the type of person that wants to be like top performing and whatever somebody sets me, I want to do, go above and beyond. And like you say, it's easier for somebody else's company, but for me to say to myself, yeah, I fucking smashed it this week, that is a bit arrogant. But when you're a big deal, like,
but you
that is a joke, by the way.
No, there's
Disclaimer.
Yeah, there are so many victories. Like, what's my target for the day, or what's my target from this phone call I'm about to make? It's like you can't celebrate every.
No.
Like, oh yeah, we got the artist table. Oh, brilliant. It's like, no. What are we going to do now?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? Now we've got the venue. What else do we need to organise? So that is a little victory. That is something that you really wanted to get and something you did get. So like, brilliant, we made it happen.
Yeah.
But there's still on to the next thing.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's and I don't practice what I preach in this. You have to try not to forget where you come from. It's not saying you should be.
Well, you need to do your gratitude at the end of the day when you're doing your meditation, because I know you like a spot of that.
Yeah.
So once you've done your meditation, you should think of 3 things that you're grateful for, that you've achieved that day, or that somebody said something nice to you or something. And then do that little reflection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good tip. Idea.
Top tip for you.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've covered everything.
Yeah.
Promoted everything that we need to promote.
God, have we plugged everything? I feel like there's other stuff to plug, like plug.
Oh, what's the next event? The next workshop?
Next workshop is
that the communication?
Effective communication.
Yeah.
At Engine
28. The Sunday.
Last Sunday of April.
Last
Sunday of April.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's the 29th.
Yeah, 29th.
Because the 28th.
10 till 1. You can book, come to our Facebook page, which is the Happy You Project. You can contact us on Insta, which is Happy You Project. You can email us, thehappyyouproject@gmail.com. So just connect in any way.
Yeah.
I think that's plug. Oh, and go and subscribe to its character building blog every Wednesday.
Yeah.
New blog comes out.
Have you even said the name of the zine, by the way?
No.
Yeah. I've just realised.
Professional.
We've gone through the whole hour.
We're waiting for the end.
The whole point that you're
We're
here.
waiting for the end,
Yeah.
the big finale.
People have been listening. They've been
What
waiting
is the
for
name?
this.
Guys, this is the moment.
It better be
then.
good. The pressure's
So the
building.
name of the zine is The Happy Hood.
No, you have mentioned it.
Okay, good.
Oh.
We've said Happy Hood. We probably didn't say what that was, but I'll mention
Happy
it in the
Hood
intro
as in
well.
happy neighbourhood.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Happy Hood. We haven't got separate socials for it because, quite frankly, we're dying in social media right now. But if you need anything Happy Hood related, go to the Happy You Project and contact us that way.
I think that's a good idea. I think that's
Too much.
until
Too
it
many.
becomes a separate business entirely.
Yeah.
Keep it all under the same
Yeah.
roof. That's definitely more manageable. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for coming down.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
It's my pleasure. I know you've got probably a decent amount of work to do, so it's nice that you've given us the time. It's an awesome project. Thank you for letting me write for it.
Yeah, we're excited.
I think I've discovered that I probably want to do some writing. So
And you're really good at it. You've got
thank you
natural
very
talent
much.
for it. So.
Thank you. Well, it's very brief, so I hope it makes sense. But no, yeah, I'm grateful for that. There you
We're
go.
excited to have more articles from you, Josh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh well.
More
Yeah, I'd love to.
exciting
Thank you.
things.
Is that everything?
Yeah.
Have I missed anything? No. I'll put all the links to all the businesses, and I think this will go out on the 18th, so the night before.
Ooh, the day
Or the day before the event. So anyone listening, come down to the artist table on the 19th of April from 7:30 p.m.
There we go. Loving it.
Yeah.
Loving life.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Awesome. So there it was, the Josh Astrop Podcast, episode number 114 with the Happy You Project. What a lovely bunch of people. Fascinating to hear their backgrounds as well, what they're doing outside of this project. And like a lot of entrepreneurs or self-employed people are starting businesses, there's a lot of strings to their bow. They're interested in other things and have other areas of expertise. So that's always interesting to find out how they're making things work in their world. Yeah, really great talking to those guys. Infectious positivity without being, in my opinion, too. I've got to try and choose my words carefully here. I want to say out there, but that sounds like a bit of an outdated phrase. When you're talking about positivity, meditation, yoga, happiness, it can quite easily become a little bit too hippie-like, a little bit too free love-like. Now, I am interested in self-improvement and meditation and yoga and diet and exercise, as well as running a successful business, trying to help other people, getting help from other people. And in my opinion, what Laura and Paige are doing, both with the Happy You projects and their individual businesses, that's on the side of that sort of self-improvement happiness thing that I can really get along with. And I've got a lot from both of them already. It's fascinating to hear. I'm really excited about this project, as I've said 1,000 times before. So anyway, fantastic people. I'll put the links to their businesses, to the project in the show notes. Make yourself available for Thursday, the 19th of April at the artist table, 7:30 p.m. The launch of the Happy Hood zine. Get involved. It will be awesome. It will be around forever and it will only get better. Make sure you get yourself the first edition of the first edition. If you want to follow the podcast, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Just look for the Josh Astrop Podcast. If you want to watch the video version of the podcast, we're on YouTube. Search for the Josh Astrop Podcast. If you're listening to the audio-only version, then it's available on iTunes, Acast, Stitcher, and all good podcast platforms. That's it. I think that's it. Website and merch coming soon. Coming very soon. I'm working on it. I'm working hard on it. Bear with me. Yeah, that's coming. That's the final piece of the puzzle of the new style of podcast. So, yeah. Thanks everyone who's been subscribing and downloading and commenting and liking and sharing. It's really nice to know that people are listening and that the people I'm talking to, their stories are coming across well. That's really my aim really is to talk to these people that are interested and hopefully convey that to people that are listening and watching the podcast. So thanks again to everyone that's getting involved and interacting. If you want to join the podcast group, which is kind of a members-only club. It's free to join. Find us on Facebook. Just look for the group, the Josh Astrop Podcast, and request to join. What I'm going to be doing there is some pre-releases of the podcast and the video podcast. So if you're in the group, you get to find out about it first and you get the links before everyone else. Also special offers on merch and anything that's available. Group members will find out first. So... yeah, look for the group and request to join. It will be updated fairly regularly, not too regularly that it becomes annoying, but regularly enough that there's some good information there and stuff not covered in each episode. So yes, thank you, Laura. Thank you, Paige. Thank you for listening. Find the Josh Astrop Podcast wherever you like. This has been the Josh Astrop Podcast, episode number 114 with the Happy You Project. I've been Josh Astrop. We will see you next Wednesday.